blind date disaster. The mechanic walked in. The paralyzed female CO, ever expected to smile again. Amelia Stone had spent the last 3 years confined to a wheelchair after a tragic accident that stole not only her mobility, but her joy. As the CEO of one of the biggest tech firms in the country, she faced the boardroom with a fierce poker face. But when it came to her personal life, the loneliness was unbearable. Her friends insisted she try a blind date. Just give it a chance, they said. Reluctantly, she agreed. That evening, Amelia rolled her wheelchair into the upscale restaurant, her confidence tucked neatly behind the walls she had built. Her date arrived latent when he finally did. He looked at her chair, frowned, and muttered under his breath, "You should have mentioned that." Minutes later, he made some excuse about a business call and walked out, leaving Amelia humiliated in front of half the restaurant. Just as she was about to leave in tears, the door swung open. Grease-stained boots stepped inside. A man in a faded leather jacket, hair mussed from a long shift, scanned the room. His eyes landed on her. "Amelia?" he asked, almost shyly. She blinked. I think you've got the wrong table." But he shook his head. "No, your friend Chloe said you might be here. She told me you got stood up." The stranger introduced himself as Jake, a single dad and local mechanic. He didn't look like the powerful suits Amelia was used to, but there was something disarming in his smile. Genuine, unpolished, real. At first, Amelia tried to brush him off. She was tired of pity. But Jake wasn't offering pity, he was offering conversation. He made a joke about how he ruined his only clean shirt because his little girl spilled orange juice on him before he left. Somehow, she laughed, really laughed, for the first time in years. The waiter returned, hesitant, asking if she still wanted dinner. Jake glanced at Amelia and said, "Only if she let me join. But I warn you I don't know which fork to use." Amelia found herself smiling, her humiliation fading into something she hadn't expected. Warmth. Hours passed. They talked about cars, about his daughter's obsession with fixing toy trucks, about her battles in the corporate world. Jake never once looked at her chair as a limitation. He looked straight at her like she was simply a woman sitting across the table, not a CEO, not someone broken. As the restaurant lights dimmed and the staff began closing up, Amelia realized something startling. This mechanic, who had barged into her worst night, had given her something she thought she'd lost forever: hope, for the first time since her accident. Amelia left the restaurant not feeling invisible, but alive, and Jake. He walked her to her car and said simply, "If you'll let me, I'd like to see you again. Not as a blind date, but as myself." Amelia nodded, smiling through tears. "I'd like that too." The soft hum of expensive chatter filled La Lumiere, the kind of restaurant where waiters wore pressed tuxedos and diners whispered about stock prices. Amelia Stone rolled her wheelchair past the marble pillars and crystal chandeliers, her composure sharp as ever. She was used to commanding boardrooms filled with men twice her age. But here on a blind date, her confidence cracked at the edges. Maybe this was a mistake, she thought. She hadn't been on a date since the accident. 3 years. 3 years of watching people's eyes drift to her chair before anything else. Her date arrived 10 minutes late, tall and handsome, but the moment his eyes fell to her lap, his smile faltered. He slid into the seat with stiff politeness. "You should have mentioned," he said, nodding toward her wheelchair. Amelia's throat tightened. "I didn't think it mattered." He gave a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Well, you're very strong, but I don't think this will work." "Sorry." He stood, mumbled something about a business call, and walked out before the bread basket had even touched the table. Amelia sat frozen, her cheeks burning as nearby diners tried not to stare. She wanted to vanish. That's when the restaurant doors swung open. A man in a scuffed leather jacket stepped in, shaking the evening chill from his shoulders. His boots left faint marks on the polished marble floor. His hair was messy, his hands rough with oil stains that no amount of scrubbing could hide. He looked wildly out of place among the suits and silk dresses. He scanned the room, then spotted her. His face lit up. "Amelia." She blinked. "Do I know you?" He walked over, scratching the back of his neck sheepishly. "Not yet. I'm Jake. Your friend Chloe called me." Said Yuga stood up. Amelia's eyes narrowed. "Chloe, her meddling best friend? She what?" "Yeah, she's sneaky like that," Jake admitted with a crooked grin. "But look, I don't want to intrude. I just didn't think anyone should have to sit through a night like this alone." For a moment, Amelia wanted to dismiss him, to push him away with the same armor she used in the corporate world. But then she caught the earnestness in his eyes. No judgment, no pity, just concerned. The waiter appeared, stiff and skeptical. "Will Madam still be dining tonight?" Jake looked at Amelia. "Only if she let me join. Fair warning, I don't know which fork is which." Something in his tone, so casual and unapologetic, broke through her humiliation. She let out a laugh light, unguarded, surprising even herself. "Fine," Amelia said. "But if you use the dessert spoon for soup, I'm leaving." Dinner turned into something Amelia hadn't expected. Fun. Jake told stories about his little girl, Lily. How she insisted on helping him at the auto shop, handing him tools with greasy hands. How she painted his workbench pink with glitter last week. Amelia found herself laughing until her ribs ached. In return, she shared pieces of herself she hadn't shared with anyone outside the corporate circle, her dreams before the accident, her struggles since. Not once did Jake glance at her wheelchair with discomfort. He looked her in the eye, as if the chair didn't exist. When dessert came, Jake leaned forward and whispered, "Okay, which fork?" Amelia laughed so hard she almost cried. By the time the restaurant staff began clearing tables, Amelia realized hours had passed. She hadn't thought of her accident once during the entire conversation. She hadn't thought of herself as broken. Jake walked her to her car, hands shoved awkwardly into his jacket pockets. "Look, I know I'm not in your world. I fix cars. I raise my kid. I'm probably the opposite of what you're used to." Amelia tilted her head, smiling softly. "Maybe that's exactly what I need." His eyes widened just slightly, and then his grin returned. "So can I see you again? Not as some blind date rescue mission. Just me. Just you." For the first time in 3 years, Amelia felt the weight in her chest lift. She wasn't CEO Amelia. She wasn't the woman in the chair. She was simply herself. And she nodded, tears brimming but her smile steady. "I'd like that very much." And so, what began as the worst night of her life ended with a mechanic who made her believe in tomorrow again.